Skill Mage says, what's your understanding as to why the Jews don't believe in Jesus and are waiting on someone else? I think primarily it's tradition. Um, I think okay, you asked my understanding on this. I think the majority of Jews don't really know a lot about Jesus. When I've heard from those who were Jews and then came to the Messiah, came to Christ, they talk about how they had really very, very shallow understanding of Christianity and of Jesus in particular. One Jew said that he thought that the New Testament was literally a set of documents about how to persecute Jews. And it was when he opened up the Bible and he reads Matthew and it starts with the genealogy and he starts to realize, wait a minute, this entire thing was written by Jews. I mean, Matthew is like written about Jesus, a Jew writing about a first century Jew who claimed to be the Messiah, which is not actually considered that bad in Judaism to claim to be the Messiah. Maybe you are, they're okay with that. In Judaism, the current tradition in Orthodox Judaism is if you are a Messianic Jew, it's fine as long as your Messiah is not Jesus. So there's been rabbis even recently who some Jews say, hey, I think that's the Messiah, and then they're fine with it. They're like, yeah, you're still a Jew. Of course you're a Jew. But when you put your faith in Jesus, you're not even a Jew anymore. You're not a Jew anymore, even if you're continuing to observe traditions and things like that. And so this is a hotbed for general cultural confusion about the nature of the New Testament, about who Jesus is, about what he claimed. If you can be a Jew and believe in any old Messiah, but not Jesus, him specifically, you can't. What's going on here is something strange. Something strange. Maybe this is like a spiritual darkness that's happening, and it's very sad. It's not something anybody's happy about. We want to share the Jewish Messiah with the Jewish people. He's their Messiah. You belong here, y'all. You belong here, trusting in Jesus, your Messiah. What reasons do they give? They'll often give reasons like, well, the Messiah is not going to die. He died, and he died by crucifixion. God would not allow that to happen. But this is modern rabbinic. Okay, let me just go through a quick timeline for you, right? Old Testament Judaism is one thing, right? When you get to the first century, when you get to Jesus's time, it's a slightly altered version, but it's still relatively Old Testament. They're still observing the feast the same way. They still kind of have, they just have these Pharisees and these Sadducees who are kind of like adding a lot of traditions. But at its core, it's still Old Testament, OG Judaism. And then you get to the time after the New Testament, the destruction of the temple in 70 AD. Now Judaism goes through a radical revolution, and a new type of Judaism emerges called Rabbinic Judaism, where they reimagine Judaism with no temple and no sacrifices. And so good works take the place of sacrifices in some ways. And at the same time, they're pulling away from Christians who are saying, this is the real Messiah, Jesus is the Messiah, and they're creating something that's meant to be distinct from that. So this is created as a reaction. Rabbinic Judaism is radically different. If you meet a modern Jew who's even Orthodox, they're not Old Testament style, man. They're rabbinic, post-New Testament style. And one of the things they were believing when Jesus was alive was that the Messiah could die. This was a debate because they saw passages in the Old Testament that recommended that the Messiah was going to suffer and die. So they tried to reconcile this. There was the two Messiahs view. This is in Second Temple literature, in between the First and the Old and New Testaments. And they were like, hey, there's going to be a suffering Messiah, he'll die. And then there's going to be another Messiah who comes and he reigns. So they had a two Messiah perspective, at least some people did. This is because the idea of the Messiah suffering was something that they saw in their scriptures. Now, however, all those passages like Isaiah 53 in Rabbinic Judaism, it's ingrained. If they talk about it, they always say, oh, it's Israel. It's not about the Messiah. It's only about Israel. The suffering Messiah it's just Israel. We're the ones suffering, even though that completely contradicts the passage. And that's not the common historical understanding if you go really back in the rabbinic writings. I've done research on this. I'm not just making stuff up. And so all that to say, the less informed Jews have shallow confusions about Christianity. Oh, it's anti-Jewish. Oh, and don't get me started on the Catholic Church and how they've helped promote this. Forgive me, Catholic, I'm not trying to attack you here. Historically speaking, just go read the papal bulls. Just spend a few hours one day reading through the historic papal bulls, and you'll see the animosity between official, Roman Catholicism and Judaism has been intense. And it went both ways, but this has left historically, and then look at even, and that's not only, even in Protestantism, there's been plenty of anti-Semitic stuff that's just burned bridges. So the belief is, shallow belief under many modern Jews is that Christianity was anti-Semitic at its core. It's about as Semitic as it gets at its core, right? Like I have a Jewish faith. I'm not a Jew, but I have a Jewish faith. I have a Jewish Messiah, and I think the Jews are a blessed people whom God has called to know Him and love Him, and they've just missed their Messiah. And I just hope they come back. And those who have, and there's plenty. There's more Jews following Jesus now than at any other time in history. So that's a wonderful thing. So all that to say, there's that sort of animosity towards Christianity. Then there's like Jesus is the exception to the rule. He's the one Messiah you're not allowed to believe in. And there's also a reimagining of messianic prophecy to try to make sure that you can't use those passages to talk about Jesus. That's happened in Rabbinic Judaism over time. There's some of those answers. If you guys want more on this, I recommend it's a 5-volume series now, Answering Jewish Objections to Jesus by Dr. Michael Brown. It's the best thing I've seen on the topic. The best thing I've seen on the topic.